Jia Gu Wen. The earliest known form of Chinese writing, Jia Guan, emerged during the Shang dynasty around 1250 BCE. This script was carved into ox scapulae and turtle plastrons, primarily used for divination. Shang kings and diviners would inscribe questions to the gods or ancestors, apply heat to the bones, and interpret the resulting cracks as divine answers. The inscriptions recorded both the questions and, often, the outcome. Jia Guan characters were largely pictographic representations of physical objects, natural elements, animals, and humans. For example, the character for sun was a simple circle with a dot in the center, while rain depicted falling drops from clouds. Despite its archaic appearance, Jia Guan had grammatical structure, including verbs, nouns, and pronouns, making it a true written language. This system laid the groundwork for the development of Chinese script as a cultural and administrative tool. Its use was closely tied to ritual practice and the ruling elite's belief in their divine right to rule. Thousands of these inscribed bones have been uncovered, and they offer critical insight into Shang society, politics, agriculture, and spiritual life. Jia Guan stands as the foundation of one of the world's oldest continuously used writing systems. Jinwen. Following the Shang dynasty, writing evolved from bones to bronze. During the Western Zhou period, a new form of script emerged, Jinwen, or bronze script, named for its appearance on bronze ritual vessels such as bells, basins, and cauldrons. These vessels were cast with inscriptions commemorating events like military victories, royal decrees, ancestral sacrifices, and the conferment of noble titles. The characters in Jinwen were less rigid than those in Jia Guan, featuring smoother, more curved lines that better suited the medium of molten bronze casting. The inscriptions also became lengthier and more sophisticated, reflecting both the growing complexity of Zhou administration and the expanding role of writing in public life. Jinwen marks a key moment in Chinese epigraphy because it demonstrates the shift from a purely religious tool toward a medium of statecraft and social memory. Stylistically, the characters were often quite elegant, with a focus on symmetry and balance. Though still pictographic in origin, they were gradually taking on more abstract forms. Jinwen also reflects the early emergence of legal and bureaucratic thinking, as many inscriptions laid out responsibilities, titles, and relationships in clear, formal language. These inscriptions are invaluable historical records that document the values, rituals, and politics of early Zhou civilization. Da Zhuan. As the Zhou dynasty continued, regional states began to diverge in both politics and language. What we now call Da Zhuan, or large seal script, refers not to a single script, but a category that encompasses multiple regional writing styles used from the late Western Zhou through the Warring States period. It represents the next stage in the evolution of Chinese characters and includes both the Jinwen on bronzes and other scripts used in bamboo and silk documents. Da Zhuan characters retained their pictographic roots, but were increasingly stylized and abstract. Inscriptions during this period often show elaborate flourishes and a lack of standardization, with different states such as Chu, Qin, Qi, and Yan developing their own character sets. For example, the character for king in one state might look quite different in another, though their meanings were roughly equivalent. This lack of unity created practical problems, especially in interstate communication and diplomacy. Despite its inconsistency, Da Zhuan is crucial to understanding how early Chinese characters evolved. It shows experimentation with structure, a move toward phonetic borrowing, and the beginnings of the complexity that would later define Chinese script. By the end of the Warring States period, it became clear that China needed a writing reform, and one powerful dynasty would soon make it happen. Zhou Wen. Within the broader family of large seal scripts, Zhou Wen holds a special place due to its classification by Han Dynasty scholars. The term Zhou Wen comes from the Shuo Wen Jia Zi, China's first etymological dictionary compiled by Zhu Shen during the Eastern Han. Zhu Shen sought to preserve and classify older forms of characters, many of which had fallen out of daily use, but were still seen in classical texts and ceremonial contexts. Zhou Wen specifically referred to a set of characters thought to have been in use during the Western Zhou period, which had become archaic by Zhu Shen's time. These forms were typically more elaborate and ornate than their contemporary equivalents and retained strong pictographic elements. The inclusion of Zhou Wen in Shuowen Jiezi reflects a conscious effort to trace the lineage and transformation of characters over time. While Zhou Wen was no longer a practical script by the Han era, its study was essential to understanding ancient inscriptions and preserving classical learning. Scholars of Chinese paleography today continue to rely on Zhou Wen classifications to interpret Bronze Age texts. It represents one of the earliest efforts in human history to historicize and codify a language's development over time. Xiaozhuan. In 221 BCE, the first emperor of a unified China, Qin Shi Huang, launched a sweeping set of reforms to standardize weights, measures, currency, and most importantly, writing. The result was Xiaozhuan, or small seal script. This script was created by Prime Minister Li Shi and served as the official written form across the vast Qin Empire. Xiaozhuan took the chaotic variety of Dazhuan and regularized it into a consistent, balanced, and aesthetically harmonious script. It retained the round and elegant character structures of earlier scripts, but imposed clear rules for stroke order, proportion, and spacing. Characters were uniform in size, and brush techniques became more refined. Although beautiful, Xiaozhuan was also cumbersome to write, especially for long texts. Still, it served its purpose: to unify written communication across regions that had previously used wildly different scripts. It was used primarily for imperial edicts, inscriptions, seals, and monuments. Despite being later replaced for practical writing, Xiaozhuan remains important in Chinese seal carving and calligraphy. It also laid the groundwork for future scripts by providing a standardized model of each character's form. This was China's first true writing reform, and it left an enduring legacy. Li Shu. Shortly after Xiaozhuan, a more practical script emerged that would revolutionize Chinese administration: Li Shu, or clerical script. It began in the late Qin period and flourished during the Han Dynasty. Li Shu was developed by scribes and clerks who needed a faster, easier way to record information. Unlike the flowing curves of Xiaozhuan, Li Shu favored straight lines, angular strokes, and flat, rectangular forms. This style drastically simplified characters, shedding superfluous strokes and creating more standardized shapes. One of Li Shu's hallmark features is the distinctive silkworm head and wild goose-tail stroke style, referring to the way horizontal lines begin thick and taper off. With the introduction of the writing brush and ink on bamboo strips or paper, the Li Shu style was particularly well-suited to scribal efficiency. It allowed for rapid documentation of everything from census records to legal codes. Most importantly, Li Shu marked a decisive shift in the form and function of Chinese writing. It was no longer just an art or ritual, but a working language of government. This script was a crucial link between the classical scripts and modern ones, forming the visual and structural basis for most Chinese characters still in use today. Cao Shu. While Li Shu addressed the needs of bureaucrats, Cao Shu, or cursive script, was born out of personal expression and the need for speed. It developed alongside Li Shu in the Han Dynasty, but took simplification even further. Cao Shu is characterized by flowing, rapid strokes, where characters often merge, abbreviate, or drop components altogether. The earliest form, known as Zhang Chao, maintained a degree of structure, but already showed signs of merging strokes for efficiency. Over time, cursive writing became increasingly abstract, evolving into Jinchao, or modern cursive, which could be nearly illegible to the untrained eye. Yet this seeming chaos was intentional. Cao Shu wasn't just a faster way to write, it became a form of artistic expression. Calligraphers used it to display emotion, rhythm, and personal style. The energy and movement in a cursive piece were seen as extensions of the writer's spirit. Calligraphy masters like Zhang Su and Huai Su in the Tang Dynasty pushed the style to expressive extremes, creating works of frenetic brilliance. While Cao Shu was rarely used for official texts due to its difficulty to read, it remains an iconic style in the world of Chinese calligraphy, praised for its vitality and spontaneity. Xingxu. If Cao Shu was too fast and messy, and Li Shu too rigid, then Xingxu, or running script, struck a perfect balance. Developed during the late Han and perfected in the Jin and Tang dynasties, Xingxu became the go-to script for personal correspondence, literature, and scholarly writing. Its name, running script, reflects how characters flow smoothly but remain legible. Characters in Xingxu are typically joined by swift, curved strokes, but they retain their basic structure and proportions, making them far easier to read than cursive. It is an elegant and efficient script that allows for both speed and beauty, adapting easily to the motion of the brush. Xingxu became the preferred style of China's most celebrated calligrapher, Wang Shiqi, whose Lanting Shu is often hailed as the greatest piece of Chinese calligraphy ever created. Xingxu's influence was so great that it continues to dominate handwritten Chinese today, especially in personal notes, greeting cards, and informal calligraphy. It teaches students the artistry of script while preparing them for the more structured regular script. In many ways, Xingxu embodies the ideal of Chinese aesthetics: flowing, harmonious but always balanced. Kaishu. The final and most widely used traditional script is Kaishu, or regular script. It began emerging in the late Han Dynasty and reached maturity in the Tang Dynasty. Kaishu represents the culmination of centuries of script evolution, offering a form that is clear, consistent, and ideal for education, printing, and formal writing. Its defining features include square character structure, fixed stroke order, balanced proportions, and angular clarity. Each stroke in Kaishu has a distinct beginning and end, making the characters easy to learn and reproduce. During the Tang Dynasty, calligraphers such as Ou Yangxun, Yan Zhenqing, and Liu Gongtuan elevated Kaishu into an art form, producing works that became templates for centuries of students and scholars. Kaishu is still taught in schools today and forms the basis for most modern Chinese typefaces, including Songti and Heiti. It is used in signage, documents, and printed media across the Chinese-speaking world. Unlike cursive or seal scripts, Kaishu is not only artistic, it is also functional. It remains the clearest and most practical representation of the Chinese character system, embodying both the legacy of ancient scripts and the needs of a modern literate society. Nushu. Amid all the formal, state-sanctioned scripts, one unique writing system developed quietly among women in rural China: Nushu, or women's script. Used in Zhangyang County of Hunan Province, Nushu was a phonetic script passed down from mother to daughter among women who were largely excluded from formal education. While it adapted the shapes of standard Chinese characters, Nushu was written in a uniquely cursive and slender style, usually on fans, cloth, or paper. It represented syllables rather than meanings, making it function more like a syllabary than a logographic system. Women used Nushu to write poems, songs, and letters expressing personal thoughts, struggles, and solidarity, particularly in the context of arranged marriages and domestic hardship. It was often used in third-day books, given to brides by female friends and relatives after weddings, filled with blessings and laments. Nushu survived underground for centuries and only came to widespread attention in the 20th century. Though now nearly extinct, it is preserved in museums and cultural centers and stands as a powerful symbol of feminine resilience, creativity, and community. Unlike the imperial scripts, Nushu was not about control, it was about connection,